loved what you said about pleading your case. I'm actually in a litigious situation and I'm being asked all the time to plead my case. How do I keep my focus on my inspired feelings when I'm constantly asked to tell the story over and over?
Such a good question, because the whole point that you've heard from us already is that you're wanting to find a way to make what is not wanted about what's manifested less active. And if you keep looking back at it, one of the things that we've been saying to people lately, we're going to compound your question here and then we'll answer it fully. One of the things that we've been saying to people is that your inner being doesn't look back. Your inner being never stands with you justifying why you're standing where you're standing. So when you do it, you're right. All you're doing is keeping active the vibrations that didn't let in what you wanted to let in. And so you got to find some way of letting that go. And we know, we love you so much. We know how much your physicality and your ability to observe everything about it, we understand how difficult it is not to do that. And we don't want you not to do that because there's so much about it that is so delicious and beneficial. So it really is about telling the story the way you want it to be. You're going to have to sort of separate that part of your reality from the rest of your reality and give a lot of attention to your vibrational reality and not so much attention to this. You heard us say earlier, and it was probably a very meaningful remark for you to take in, that where you are standing right now in terms of what's manifesting isn't about what you're doing right now. It's about what you were offering vibrationally that led up to it. And so the good news is you're launching all kinds of rockets of desire, but there is no fast way. In other words, what happens with most people who are where they are because of all of the actions and thoughts and words that they've offered by default without deliberately telling the story the way they want it to be and so forth, once something is manifest, you're sort of are where you are. You just are where you are. And the less flailing about you do, and the less you feel like a victim, and the less you feel bad about it, then the better it is. Because nobody's holding you to any standards that you should be perfect. How are you going to know what you do want until you've lived a little bit of what you don't want? So you want to give us just what's going on?
It's a divorce. It's been going on for years, and I'm at the point where I'm continually telling this story of who did what, who deserves what, how things should be now. It's just constantly going over the old story. And
well, do you believe that through the years that you were together, and especially most recently, that you put plenty of things in the vortex?
Yes.
And do you believe that your inner being knows that they're all there?
Yes.
And do you believe that you're only going to get them through whatever comes through the divorce? Is that the only place that your resources are ever going to come from again?
Of course not.
Well, that really matters, because what so many people do is they focus upon this thing that is sucking the life out of them and keeping them from any receptive mode that would give them any positive impulses that would lead them to what they really want. And so in order to get this little bit, they block off all of that. That's the way we would look at it, is that I'm not going to focus upon this little bit, and it is a little bit. It's a tiny little bit in relationship to all of that. I'm just not going to do it. You've heard it. You know what I'm talking about. You know where I stand. You know what I want. You know what I want. You know what I want. Because your inner being and what's in your vortex is not giving you what you want by taking it from someone else to give it to you. That's the thing. That's the money shortageness. That's the shortage consciousness that is hindering to so many humans. They believe that there is this finite pie and that I want my share of it. And when you quibble over that paltry little pie, you block your avenue for all of this avalanche of well-being that is coming to you in so many other ways. And when you know that and you have that attitude and you let go of that, when you release that feeling of dependency, when you release that feeling of injustice, when you find the freedom of autonomy and self-value and the love of source and the love of your inner being, when you find that, then even from these places that have seemed very stingy, that are trying to prevent you, even they yield to you unknowingly, you see. You see, what you're emphasizing here, and a lot of people believe this, starts out with children. So often you believe that your value, your wealth, your good is coming from that source. Maybe it's mom and dad, maybe it's spouse, maybe it's employer. My well-being is coming from that. And since my well-being is coming from that, then my belief in that is important, because I only let come to me what my belief in that is. And that will always disappoint you, because that was never the avenue selling place. You get all knotted up. But it's not because what you're thinking is true about that. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a bad outcome. We don't mean that. But it does prevent all of the other resources from coming into your experiences. Like, you've asked, it's being given, but then you put up a shield so you just don't let any good ideas flow. So what happens when you believe that that's the avenue through which your good will come? You learn, you all have done it to some extent, you plead a really needy case, because you believe if they think you don't need it, they won't give it to you. So I need this. I really need this. I need this. And when you develop that attitude of neediness, even though you might appeal to the good wishes or to the love of a parent, and they might give up the goods because frankly they're tired of the fit you're throwing, it's so little in comparison, because at the same time that you're pleading that case of neediness, you're blocking all the good that is in your vortex that would flow to you if you were in that receiving mode rather than that receiving mode. So this receiving mode says, oh, there's only so much money to go around, and I deserve it because I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this, and you weren't nice to me about this and you weren't nice to me about this, and we're splitting up because of this, and this is wrong 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 and that was bad and this is wrong and that was bad, and because all of this is wrong and bad, I deserve good to come to me. And the universe says, you deserve good to coming to you. Yes, you do. You deserve good coming to you, but you can't get there from there. This receiving mode is not going to yield to you. This receiving mode has given you what you've got, but there's so much more, you see. So it's like saying, never mind, just kidding, just kidding, misunderstood. I thought it was coming from there, but now I see it's coming from here, and I realize everything that's there, and okay, I'm just going to let go.
So what's the appropriate thing for me to say to my attorney? Whatever? I mean, just it's okay with me?
Here's what we would say. If we were standing in your shoes, we would say, this has been a long process, and I believe that you know what you're doing. And the outcome of this is going to mostly be about your interpretation of everything that we've told you. And so I'm just going to step back and trust that you've got a handle on your interpretation of what I've told you. And I'm just going to let the chips fall where they may.
Okay.
And meanwhile, I'm going to the casino in the sky. Don't tell him that. This is a really good time for a segment of refreshment. And are you refreshed? Yes. Good. Now what?
I kept imagining this. So my question is, I'm very sensitive to energy, and I feel people's energy like in my body as if it's, I feel their body as if it's my own. And I would like to stop doing that. And what are your thoughts about that?
Well, we talked about this already, that most people are offering their vibration in response to what they're observing. And you're just observing in a more detailed way than a lot of people do. But everyone is more empathetic than they realize, or empathic. Everyone is reading energy, and not just from body language, but you do pick up on each other. But the thing that is important to know is that you can't pick up something that is not already active within you. In fact, it's really natural that you would. If you've got something going on, it's natural that you would pick it up around you. That is the reason that we think it's such a good idea to be aware of how you're feeling, and then to want to think thoughts that result in feeling good.
Yeah. The thing with me is like, I'm aware that it's active in my vibration, but when I'm feeling it, I become conscious of it, and it's hard to not.
Well, we talked about that already a little bit, didn't we? That once it is manifested, it's like it's old news. Here's the way, and we mean this to help you. We're not being, Esther's got a new word she uses lately, snarky. We're not being snarky. We're not being snarky with you about it. We just want you to realize that once something has manifested, you just kind of have to just accept. Once you're living a moment, and once it's happening, and once you're having an emotional response to it, that's not the time to try to fix it, because what that does, that trains you to get into a step one asking, prodding, probing, problem orientation, which doesn't serve you. It's better to just recognize that it's happening again, acknowledge that you'd like it to be different than that, and then at the times that you're feeling the best. You said to us something important when you sat down. You said, I was visualizing being here. Yeah. So that's what we call pre-paving. That's going beyond the moment that is, and it's anticipating something forward. And it's actually quite easy to anticipate forward, because there's nothing in the now that contradicts it. And so that's the way that we would approach it.
Yeah, thank you. I love you so much.
There's something else here that we want to talk about. So did you get all of them? We did. Just now? Did you feel all of them?
What do you mean?
Did you feel the energy of everyone here?
Really? No. Wow. Yeah.
Really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.